We are live, bass fishing live, Thursday night. Tonight with us, we got John Dalton from Creek Fishing Adventures. How you doing, John?
Hi, I'm doing good. How's it going, Josh?
I can't complain, man. We'll give people a little bit of time to get joined up here. Usually it takes a little bit. I'm going to check and see if these notifications have came out yet. To get joined up here, usually it takes... There we go. Notifications out, so... We'll give it a few minutes, let people start joining up, John, and getting some questions, comments, and stuff in here as we get going. But as we're waiting, man, go ahead and introduce yourself, where you're from, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm John. I got started a YouTube channel called Creek Fishing Adventures like 7 years ago now. It's coming up on the 7th year in June. That's like when I started it, and started as just kind of like a little fun thing I just wanted to do, messing around. Now it's my full-time job for the last 3 years, and I'm in East Tennessee, Southeast Tennessee. All kinds of awesome streams and waterways, lakes, rivers, everything. And we got mountains are right beside me. I can like see the hills, like Appalachians. So we got creeks coming out of the hills. We got creeks in the valley. We got all kinds of different, like as far as streams. We got a lot of different species. Everything you can think of within, an hour drive from me, like all muskie to smallmouth to Alabama spotted bass and giant catfish. But
heck yeah,
very diverse area as far as like fishing goes. And I mainly do creeks and streams, and I love rivers and stuff like that, but I do a little bit of everything if I can.
Heck yeah. If you're just now joining us, let us know. We just started Bass Fishing Live probably 6 weeks ago. This is probably your 8th or 9th show. If you're just joining us in the comments, let us know where you're watching from. I've been looking at our followers, where everybody's from, and we have followers from all over the place, from like Australia to Puerto Rico, all across the U.S. So if you're watching, just comment. Let us know where you're watching from. And as we just kind of dig into tonight and get everything going. So, John, let me you said you were from East Tennessee. What specific because I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, and I grew up fishing. I never fished lakes whatsoever. It was just like small creeks fishing for smallmouth. That's what I kind of grew up on. And I grew up fishing the Cumberland River. So then I moved out Western Kentucky, and I found out, wow, the Cumberland River is still in Western Kentucky as well, I was like, how does that work? So what waterways are you specifically fishing? What big like rivers and stuff?
Yeah, well, the Tennessee River starts in East Tennessee, right at Knoxville, and where I forget which one, the Holston and the French Broad come together. And the Tennessee River system's pretty big system, so it comes right through here. I'm in the Tennessee Valley, so you ever hear TVA and all that, Tennessee Valley? That's all this area right where I'm at, so I'm right in it. Goes down into, Alabama, then back into Tennessee. So it makes a loop also over there at Kentucky Lake on the, other side of Clarksville, Cadiz, where we were talking about earlier. But so everything, most of what I fish is like tributaries that run into the Tennessee River. But I'm also right on the divide. So just a little south and west, there's like a divide of the mountains and range and a water range. And there's another water system that runs to the Coosa River system in Georgia, Alabama area. And it doesn't feed into the Tennessee. So there's like two main water systems, and it's got different species over there and a little bit different waterways. So like the diversity is crazy. Like, what is around me. So there's the Tennessee River system that most people know that. I'm 30 minutes from Lake Chickamauga. But I hardly go out fishing on the lake. Like, I do it in kayak tournaments. Other than that, I just fish all the creeks that flow into it, because
that's it.
There's so many around them, and they're all full of fish.
Now, me and John will be with us, guys. If John is still,
I'm here.
Actually, there he is.
I'm here.
There he is.
Now we'll have some viewers, maybe.
I was gonna ask. You. Have you heard of the Duck River?
Yeah.
So me and John went down there. Heck, that was probably 3 years ago, wasn't it?
No, it was way longer than that. It was your first deployment, your second deployment.
So 2019.
It was the big deployment.
Yeah, it was like 2019. We we were just trying to find somewhere to go fish. Wanted to take our kayaks out, and we did like a 16-mile trip or something like that.
Oh wow, yeah.
On the Duck, and dude,
it was actually we started at daylight, a little before daylight.
Yeah,
ended at dark, and it was actually 19 miles.
Y'all did all that one day?
We did.
We were.
Well, he was going to be. He literally left for 6 months, like the next week.
Oh yeah.
So I woke up. Here's what I lived in Nicholasville, Kentucky, which is central Kentucky. The Duck is like an hour south of Nashville, I think. Oh, John. When you see John look off screen, okay, here's what's going on tonight, folks. When you see me, this John look off screen, I'm watching the NFL draft. I'm trying to see where Will Levis is going, who the Patriots are taking. When you see John Dalton look off screen, he's watching the NBA playoffs. It's all good. All right.
I had to leave that in a different room. It's going. I was just looking at the comments over there. So.
Oh, my bad.
So, I have to say, Chuck Maynard said John is a UK fan, so we can claim him.
Yeah.
And lived in Kentucky for a while. We were actually talking about that just before we joined. Yeah. So he is a UK fan, so he's already got like 3 positives going into the show.
So listen, I didn't mean to come on here and hijack it. I will say that our viewers did increase a little bit. Our viewers here aren't great.
That's because I finally got to share it because you decided.
So I have parents consoling me after our crushing softball defeat tonight. They're texting me, "Hey, great job, coach. Stay in there." But John, I don't know if Josh told you that Mike, another guy that works with us here, is a diehard UK fan. Like so much, it almost ruins his life.
Oh yeah,
it's bad.
And so we had a long conversation today. All right, now look, you guys, you may have tuned in for fishing, but you get a little bit of everything with us. So we had a long conversation today, John, that Coach Calipari, even though we like him, he has underachieved, and we should have more than one title with the talent we've had.
Yep.
And then Mike comes back, well, it's a random tournament. But I said, okay, well, let's look at the numbers. Since 2008, UConn's won it 3 times, Duke twice, Kansas twice, North Carolina twice, Kentucky, Louisville once. Doesn't seem too random. It seems like the top teams win. So whose side are you on that? This determines the rest of this show right here.
I was talking to my cousin actually just recently. We talk about it all the time. He keeps in touch with it a lot more, but I think it's I don't know. It's about time for a change.
Okay.
I just think he's had his he's had his chance. But this is the year, right? This is the year, the make or break year, right?
It better be.
Either he gets back in the good graces of everybody, or it's officially done. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this team does.
I saw today that I think it was the 2018 or 19 team had 7 NBA players on that team.
The NBA playoffs right now have there's so many Kentucky guys out there. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
I know, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
but it has kind of revived the talking point of how do they only have 1 title?
Yeah.
So I wish Mike was on here. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
It looks like it's just Chuck.
Hey, again, guys, if you're just joining us, we have what I can see 16 viewers.
19
viewers. If you're just joining us in the comment section, put where you're watching from. Like I said earlier, we have followers from all over, from Australia to the U.S. to Puerto Rico to everywhere. Let us know where you're watching from. We definitely want to know.
Really?
Michael Caldwell said he was watching from Georgia.
Nice. Now, on our Tuesday night show, we usually have New York, Michigan. I mean, we do have several states.
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of Australia. I feel like you kind of made that one up.
No, dude, I'm being dead serious with you. We have actually 6 followers.
Like Carl Jochimson?
We have 6 followers from Australia, and we have 4 from Japan.
Well, that makes sense from Japan and Australia. Those are bass fishing countries,
Hey, I'm claiming it. So,
Chuck is from Mercer County. Josh is from Lincoln. They need to hook up and go fishing. That's close. Yeah. So, what were you guys talking about when I got in here? I'm so sorry.
We were discussing. I was asking him what river systems he fished in East Tennessee, and I was actually about to mention. You'd mentioned the French Broad, and me and John actually growing up.
Oh, yeah.
We went to Norris Lake and Cherokee Lake quite a bit because their Uncle Sammy. He was a striper guide out there. And it was last year, mine and John's dad passed away, and that was he was like, "Hey, let me take you fishing." So we went out.
Oh,
and it was like
out.
everything just disappeared for that day. And dude, I love the French Broad, Cherokee, Norris. I love those places, man.
Can we be honest about that trip though? Sammy took us because our dad passed away, and that was hard. I mean, it's still hard.
Yeah.
It's been almost it's in 1 month. It'll be a year, and so he took us. But we get out there, we're crushing the striper, and he always has this little Bluetooth set on. Like typical older guy, Bluetooth set, white shoes. He always eats Reese cups in his boat. But there's a couple other boats with fishing guys that pull up. Now, these guys actually have clients, not their nephews out there. And we go from crushing it to just letting these guys take our spot.
Yeah.
But, I guess you just, your family. We already had our keepers anyway, but, man, we could have probably put 40 fish in the boat that day.
Yeah.
Nicholas Stepp. Oh, sorry.
There you go. I was going to say, John
thanks,
is
Nick,
awesome.
I appreciate that, bro.
I want to see him on Eastern Outdoors Media. Nick, it is awesome to have John on here. However, he is on Bass Fishing Live tonight, not Eastern Outdoors Media.
He's probably watching on Eastern Outdoors. So I don't know what you guys talk about. I'm just going to jump in here. John, one thing that I keep seeing on your channel is you love to use those, and correct me if I'm saying this wrong, Helgramites.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that. I've never used those in the creek. I actually bought a pack. What brand do you use?
Well, Nico is the one brand, but Yum just came out with theirs. So Yum will have them out in stores soon.
Oh, perfect. So I bought the Nico pack. I mean, this is probably 3 or 4 years ago. And because I'd seen them, I'd probably seen you use them and didn't really know who you were at the time. But I'd seen a lot of folks use those in creeks, and I just kept meaning to use them, and I let them set for like a year, and I just threw them away. Is that like your go-to? Is that like if nothing's scheduled? I just see so many people use them in skinny water like that, and I never have really given them a try.
Yeah, it's if it's clear water especially, but current clear water, it's probably the best lure I know how to use, and I feel like it catches the most amount of fish. You can, it's so versatile in the way it works. And it's something I feel like I've figured out. Like, it took me a long time, but I use it so much. It's one of those lures, like, I have confidence because I think I know how to use it more than one way.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
But I do it all the time, obviously. But yeah, it's a great lure for streams. And you know how bass and streams they're more like a trout. They're just sitting in that current. Yeah. So the way I fish a Helgerite most of the time, I just let it drift. Throw it in that current, or if it falls into a deep pool, it just kind of falls and you do nothing with it. And then the fish they love real Helgramites. Like, that's one of their favorite. All fish and streams, like, that's their favorite thing to eat.
That's what I was going to say next. Is I have a friend who is he fishes a lot of pro tournaments as a co-angler. He actually won a boat a few years ago. He caught a 10-pounder at Chickamauga, and it put him at first to win a boat. That's cool. But he's invited me down the last 2 summers as he goes down and he catches real Helgramites, and he catches and obviously puts them on the hook, casts them out there, and catches like huge catfish in the Cumberland River. And every time I try to go down there 2 years in a row, it's just rained us out. When it rains a lot, the Cumberland River just not fishable. But he said even though he's a big time bass fisherman, that's the most fun he has fishing. Is catching those big catfish on real Helgramites.
That's crazy. Yeah.
What's your setup when you're fishing those? I know they're pretty small. What type of line, hook, all that are you using when you're? Because I've always had an issue myself. I like a bigger baits. Even when I'm like largemouth fishing or whatever, I like to use larger baits. So what's your setup when you're throwing those?
Well, I wish I had the ones here. Oh yeah, here it is. So the Nico ones and the Yum ones, I fish them the same, but they're 3-inch. But Nico just came out with a 4.25. So if you want something a little bigger and you feel more confident,
I didn't know they were that big. I thought they were smaller than that.
Real ones.
Some of them come skinny, like real flat.
This is a big one that I've seen, like a real one. Most of the time they can be inch and a half.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they're all changed. Like I've it's not like I studied them, but I've seen enough of them to see a few, and they're black to brown to yellow. They change to adoption fly. But they're in a lot of waterways that I think a lot more waterways than most people realize. But I fish them on and this is I'll fish them. I'll just show you this one for the hook setup. This is one of the hooks I like, something weedless, and I'll put it on there sideways. I'll hook it in the top of the head, just barely, and then come around and push it in the side where it's like flat. And you can do it whatever way. This is just the way I do it. Like, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, because I've caught fish hooking it all kinds of ways. This is just how I've like come to do it and feel like it works. I want it flat so it drifts and like tumbles as it's going down the current, and let the current do the work. Because a hellgramite, I think they twitch. Like, I've seen a video one time. I've never seen one live doing it, but what they do, they get kicked up in the dirt, or they get flushed out, and they just kind of go in the current. Fish, when they eat it, they'll just eat it. I've watched this so many times. They'll just eat it and sit there. You ever watch like a fish just eat something? They just go up, eat it, and they just stay where they're at. Yeah. They don't come out and like they're not hitting like a minnow or like a strike. It's just like, oh, there's something. I'm grabbing it and I'll just sit there with it. Maybe barely move. Yeah. So with that, I have like really not designed, but like I really have what my setup like intentionally for that. So you got to fish that you're biting slow, or they're biting it soft. You might not feel it. Sometimes all it is, it's tumbling down and it just stops. Yeah. And you're like, well, am I stuck or is it a fish? And I've caught 3-pound smallmouth like thinking it's just stuck on a rock. Really? And also, if you're fishing current, your line is going to, have a, like, whatever you call it. It's going to have a bend in it. Yeah. So that's where I use, so everything I like fish this, because I do it so much, is like geared exactly to catching that fish that way. So I like a 6'9" or 6'10". You can use a 7-foot spinning rod, medium, fast, and extra fast if you can find it. I like a really fast tip on a medium where I can still throw a lighter hook. But a fast tip, when I get into it, I want immediate pressure. Mm-hmm. I used 15-pound braid and about a 6 to 8 foot 10-pound fluorocarbon leader line for rocks and visibility. Yeah, just most time. Yeah, that might help some. Those fish sometimes they don't care, but mainly like rocks and stuff. Braid cuts real easy. So that braid doesn't have stretch. You don't have you have a 10-pound leader line, which is pretty strong. You have a rod that gets into the backbone really quick. So you feel a little bite, you set the hook, it takes the slack out of it really fast, gets a good hook set, and handles the fish in current. And that's the thing I tell people, I'm fishing for 10 to 20 inch fish. It could be a 10-incher or 20-incher, and 20 inchers aren't very often, but say 18 to 20. But when you hook into an 18 in a 2 foot of water in current, you better be ready to handle it. Right. If you're fishing 6-pound line, a lot of people do. They'll fish, I'm going creek fish. I'm throwing 6-pound line. I do. I've had so many times 6-pound line break, even 8-pound line. Like those big ones are different. They're just different when they hit.
Yeah, but, I've lost so many fish in Eastern Kentucky fishing. It is the Cumberland, right, John? I'm not wrong. Is that correct? The Cumberland starts in Harlan, right? Yeah. So the Cumberland River, dude, fishing it growing up, I can't tell you how many fish I have lost because I definitely was not fishing the right setup whatsoever when I was younger, and they get in that current, and dude, they're just gone. Yeah, just gone.
Joshua Hawks is from Bowling Green. He said, come back. He's been consistently catching 80-plus inch days. Already caught a 19 3/4 smallie this year. So
actually, you said you're from Bowling Green. We went, I think it was a couple years ago. We went to Drake's Creek. Yeah. And Drake's Creek was pretty amazing. Have you been there before?
Are you talking about the one that runs into Nashville, or is that a different one?
It's just south of Bowling Green.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard it. There's a Drake's Creek in Nashville, which has smallmouth in it. I've caught smallmouth there, but it's probably a different one. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. We definitely had a time because we ended up, both of us flipped our kayaks on that trip. Was fun. Oh, nice. Yeah, so it was fun, but it wasn't too bad.
I lost everything
because it was like 98 degrees outside and it was miserably hot. So We did lose. Well, actually, we didn't lose any gear. We thought we did.
The saving grace was I flipped my kayak, and I was so mad because my phone was gone.
Oh yeah.
And my net, I got my rods and reels back, and my net starts floating, and I grab it, and my phone was in my net. It was like the luckiest thing. So that saved the day. But yeah, it was
Josh Wilson. Josh Wilson, he has a question for you, John. Actually, a really good question. I was thinking about this earlier. How well does the Helger mount work in a lake? Have you had much success in lakes compared to streams?
Yes, works great. You have, what I tell people is like I'll take people out and I'm like, they're like, I don't catch anything on your lure. They call it my lure. Like, I don't catch anything on this. I'm like, all right, throw it out there. Do nothing. Go look at your watch. Go check your phone. Come back to it. Like, leave it out there. If the faster you work it, the less fish you catch on it. Yeah. Slower you work it, like, and that's what my buddies call me. Like, you got that do nothing lure. I'm like, yeah, I like it. I just throw it out there,
fish, man.
And I leave it because the fish will either hit it while it's falling, or they let it fall to the bottom and they go there and look at it and just think about it for a second, and then they'll pick it up. And I've witnessed it so many times in creeks or streams, like in the clear water. That's how I learn. That's why, like, if you don't fish clear water, like some people hate clear water. I'm like, I learned so much from fishing clear water. Like, just go out there and just watch what happens. But I'll watch fish. They'll look at it, and if they're not in like a eating mood, they come over and look at it. Then they get up a little closer. Then they just pick it up. I've seen them where they're just like, I gotta eat it. Like, I just gotta pick it up. But I caught my biggest smallmouth out of Dale Hollow, 4.65 pound on Helgermite. So I don't use it in much as lakes anymore, but I probably should, because it works, and I definitely will. If there's rock ledges or anything where I can just kind of drop it where it looks like something just fell in, I feel like that's where it really, really does well. But I've caught them on top water where it floats, and I'll hook like kind of like a drop shot hook in it, weightless, and just skip it across the top, and they'll come up and eat it.
Oh, nice. That's fun.
That's kind of cool. That's in lakes. I've done that, and but you fish it like a Ned rig.
I was going to ask you if you had if you fished it the same way on lakes, if it was like that weightless presentation, or the well, no, you said you used, like, was it a Z-Man? Was that what you were using? Like the
usually a Z-Man or a owner blockhead. I just like that one too. But like 1/16 to 1/8 ounce, I usually don't use real heavy. I like to let it fall slow.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just, but I'm so used to fishing shallow water. So everything I do is based off me fishing like shallow water. So like I'm a deep hole, a creek's 3 foot. So I've seen where I'm throwing something 1/16 ounce, that slow fall, I'm catching twice as many fish as the guy's throwing something, a 3, not 3/4, but like what's, I don't even know what heavier than 1/8 is, but something a little heavy, like 1/4 ounce or something like that. And it's just like hitting the bottom, and they're not catching fish. Because it's just not, it's too fast. It's just not natural for that fish.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I base everything off like really lightweight. I'll just like, I know there's certain times then I'm, I probably should have something heavier on, but you can only fish the way you get confidence in.
Hey, listen, sometimes Josh and I will go fish in a boat, and he's not, Josh he's not like a tournament fisherman where he's just burning it up, and he wants to move, but he does fish faster than I do.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, I'm with you. I can throw that out there and let it soak, because I know they're just, I use a lot of like ultra vibe speed crawls on. Scott said I need to put my hat on. Scott, I came back from softball burning up. I've not had a haircut in months, so I think John Dalton's jealous of me though right now. Nah, just kidding. We do like to cut up, John. I'm sorry. Sometimes I do that, and I feel like I make guests uncomfortable, so I apologize. But, anyway,
Eddie Endicott's with us. Hello there. It's been a while.
That threw me off track. Oh, I use it like a lot of crawls, like ultra vibe speed crawls. My favorite on like a 1/8 ounce rugby hook. And man, I just know if it sits there long enough, they're gonna hit it. And that's why I usually, it may take me a while, but I catch fish. But I love, the Ned rig was meant to fish like that. It's meant to be 1/15, 1/16 ounce. I usually use about 1/10. I kind of go.
I like that.
Yeah. So
I have a
I'm
hard
right
time
there
with
with you, man.
that.
That's how I like to fish. It catches fish, I don't know.
Yeah. I believe I have like a theory that I always talk about with people. Like, I believe you're 100% right. Like, there's guys that like, especially doing tournament fishing, they're power fish. They're like, I know guys that like, they said they've never thrown a wacky rig or something like that. It's chatterbait, crankbait, spinnerbait, and they're just moving. They win tournaments like that. Like, but I couldn't do that like nonstop. And I'm like you. I always imagine I'm throwing this little lure into a tree, or you see a bush or tree, you throw it in there, and you like, if you've seen it in real life, you're like, there's a fish down there looking at it, and he's just like, how fast does that fish want to go there? Sometimes they're like mosey over to it, and you're like, if I just leave it, maybe give it one more twitch, he'll eat it. And if I pull it away too fast, he's just not going to do it. I always think that. I'm like, if I leave it a little longer, I'll get a bite. And I think you're right. Like, most of the places, there are fish there, whether they're biting or not. And sometimes just leaving it in front of them a little bit extra is going to get that fish to bite it.
I remember, I can think of a couple of times. The biggest smallmouth I've ever caught was 5 pounds, and it was at Lake St. Clair, which is still good smallmouth, but it's not even close to what you can catch there.
Right.
And it was just, I had a skirted Ned rig, which our friend Chad Haynes, he used to make those. He's kind of he's scaled back on how many jigs he makes now, but he would hand tie these skirted Ned rigs, and I took them up there, and not many people fish with those, especially the ones Chad made. And I just crushed the fish. And the biggest one I caught, man, I just threw it out there, and I just kind of worked it back every now and then. And I caught my biggest fish all weekend on that. And then, Josh, even the one, probably the biggest fish I ever caught off a kayak when we were in North Carolina, and it was the most miserable day ever. And literally the last cast, I threw it. The wind was just howling, and I said, my line, John, was like you were talking about. It was in the air. It had a huge bend in it, but it was in the air.
Yeah.
And I said, man, there's no way I'm going to catch a fish like this. And sure enough, caught like a 4-pound largemouth.
I actually was like, I was around the corner, and I'm like out there fighting the wind like an idiot.
Oh, it was
just fighting wind, trying to fish. Well, he had found a cove up to the left, and the wind wasn't as bad. And as I'm like coming around the corner, I can't even see him yet, but I hear him like yelling, screaming. He's pumped up.
It'd been a long day.
He's holding this fish above his head, and I'm like, thank God he drove all the way to North Carolina. At least he caught a fish before he left. Now, you said you're close to North Carolina, right?
Yeah, probably 30 minutes from the border.
Have you ever fished, the New River?
Yeah, I think that's border North Carolina, Virginia.
That's you're right.
Yeah.
Well, it's in Virginia. I'm actually going to fish the New River this weekend or next week. I've never fished it, but I'm going with some people through Crescent Kayaks.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm like really excited.
I'm
hoping the water's right. Yeah.
Do they have experience on there?
Yeah, there's a guide that's gonna go like.
Yeah, they have some like serious rapids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the good stretch. Like Josh and I fished there once, and we didn't really get. We were wade fishing. We didn't get into the good stretches, but they have like some class 3 rapids and stuff that I'm not getting on in my kayak. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It is absolutely beautiful there, and I know you said you like fishing like crystal clear water. It is crystal clear.
Oh,
water.
Really?
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
you got some big smallies there too.
Then it was. Yeah, there's a lot of smallmouth. That was kind of like the one of the first trips me and John had took together. I was actually living in North Carolina at the time.
At that point, we talked to each other like, man, I don't know, every other month, every 6 months. And then once we started
that trip, and then we took that trip together, and it was like our brotherhood was kind of
we became brothers that day, man. We became real brothers.
We did. No Summit.
Josh is just real annoying when he was younger. Yeah, it's just hard to deal with.
Yeah, I'll just let him say that.
What kind of kayak are you using? I've seen it a million times, but I just, in the top of my head, I just can't get out of the. No offense, but when I think about like watching a kayak on YouTube, I just see the Bassmaster kayak in my head. Yeah. So that's the image is stuck there. So you're gonna have to tell me.
I actually just got my 5th kayak. So
nice.
I haven't used it yet. So like I got 2 kayaks given to me like within the last 2 weeks or like 3 weeks.
Same brand or people?
No, different brands, different companies. So that's the perks of the YouTube. Like channel is like getting cool stuff like to do videos on.
Yeah.
But if it aligns with what I do, it makes my like channel even better because it's like things that I want. And I got so what we're taking up to the new river is through Crescent, and it's a Crescent Shoalie is what we're going to be fishing out of, and that's the new their kayak it's made to handle rapids and like current, and it's if you've been in like a cheaper or like a bigger kayak and then you get in that one, you're not going to feel stable, but like going through current, you know how you're like going through current and like say you're going down and it kind of takes you, you're like, I'm getting caught in the current and I'm afraid I'm gonna run into this tree. That Shoalie, you can just paddle right out of it like it's nothing. It'll just be like, oh, let me get over here out of the way. It just cuts through the water so much easier. So it's designed for river stuff. And
can you see it there? Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's got a front hatch. They got the like C deck on it.
That's,
Drew Gregory.
Go ahead.
You know the guy right there, Drew Gregory. He's the one who designed it. He's going to be going. That's who I'm going with.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And he fishes
in
Georgia.
Slender,
But he fishes for like shoal bass a lot. So he's kind of grew up or like really good at like fishing those kind of waters.
I got you.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. What you were saying, when you're going through something swift and you run, you see that tree and you're trying to get out of the way is literally exactly what happened to me and John down on
the duck.
No, it was Drake.
It happened to me. Happened to me, and he laughed and laughed and laughed, and he came through there like he was just going to breeze through and did the exact same thing.
Exact same thing.
And then the funniest part, just one second, I'll tell you the funniest part. 20 minutes later, there's like a group of 3 teenage girls come through and just crushed it. Just went right.
Of course.
So, I have a Feel Free Lure 13.5, a big kayak.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm a big boy, and it's heavy, but man, dude, that thing is so sturdy.
Yeah.
Like, it is a tank.
Which
if we're paddling across the lake, I'm always last.
Yeah.
But it's good. I like it.
Get to some comments here. Scott Butler said he had 9 shorts and 1 keeper last night, and more water in boat than the lake. So it looks like you may have had a little bit of a rough time last night.
I read it said I had 9 shirts, and I was like, "What's Scott talking about?" I went to the next comment. I didn't
kind
do a short.
Kind of going back to what we was talking about. Slow, John Haggerty. Slow. Slower is better. Man, I cannot.
I'm with you, bro.
I can't do it. Like slow for me is a jig. Like throwing a jig out.
That's slow.
As soon as he hits the water and it hits the bottom, I drag it 3 times through the strike zone. If they don't hit, I'm done. I can't. Even when I fish the rivers, I would say 95% of the time, and I will throw a Z-Man, a Ned rig quite a bit now because John kind of got me hooked on those and in the rivers, but I'm a big fluke guy. I love throwing zooms, super flukes. I love throwing those things. Now,
he's been burning up the crappie, and I can attest because I see the post. Him and his daughter. He's got his little daughter out there. That's my favorite part. Crushing the crappie. John, just by default, fishing streams and rivers. I mean, you're catching multiple species. Are you? Is that what you want to do? Are you targeting mostly smallmouth, or you're just like whatever bites I'm reeling it in?
It depends. I've kind of got 2 modes. I'm like, if it's a like a bass stream where I know there's a chance of good fish, I'm kind of like, all right, I'm going straight bass fishing.
Yeah.
And then I do like doing streams where I'm like, I'm going for anything, and that's where I'm downsizing to like Bobby Garland or a little creature bait or like something.
Yeah.
Something in that 1 to 2 inch range. Sometimes like I'll fish with a trout magnet on 2-pound line, ultralight rod, 1/64 ounce jig heads, and you can just catch.
Do you have a lot of videos on that? The trout magnet? I feel like I've seen those a lot. Yeah.
I haven't used it as much recently. It just depends, but like, I kind of just go in phases with like lures, and then I feel like I evolved to other lures, but it's the same type of thing. But you get something on something that tiny and just something real small. You can catch like, you don't have to go. You can cover 100 yards and catch 20 fish because you can catch everything in there. In bass fishing, if I'm going a place where I'm like, oh, this is a good smallmouth stream, then I'm like, all right, I'm going to cover water and either wade or kayak. But I'm like throwing Helgermite and spinner baits, and like really trying to find those bass.
Yeah,
I like everything, but I like to know what's in there. So if it's close to me, I like to hit it for bass, and then I'll hit it for like everything. So I'll go back and forth because I just want to know what all is in those streams sometimes.
For sure. I've got I like to go. I live about a mile from Elkhorn Creek, which is one of the best creeks to fish in Kentucky for smallmouth, for kayaks, and gets a lot of pressure from not fishing so much as just people in canoeing. But you got to navigate that. But I have buddies that I've gone with, and I can think of two that every time we go, they use little kind of like crappie crankbaits. That's all they use. They just like to cast a reel. And man, they'll catch all kinds of species, but it never fails when they're going through the riffles. They catch a gar. They catch gars every time we go. I don't know what it is, if it's like just the reaction of it, or that's just a wild thing to catch in a creek. But now there are some creeks in Kentucky. If you ever fill up to it, John, you can come up here and we can wade and catch muskie. Have you ever done that?
I've caught 4 muskie.
In creeks?
Total. Not out of a creek, out of rivers, small rivers, but
okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I've never caught a muskie. It's definitely on the list. I would love to catch.
I've caught. Sorry, go ahead.
Now all 4 of mine came like knowing there could be muskie, but on bass lures.
Yeah. Well, that's so.
And whenever I try to catch a muskie, like with muskie lures or big lures, like I don't get any bite. Switch to something finesse or something. Boom, you get one. Like
it snaps your line or cuts its teeth. So I didn't even know until I guess it was probably 4 years ago. I went with someone that Kentucky had places you could wade, fish, and catch muskie, which is just so cool, Yeah.
I haven't. I want to do that. There's some places in Tennessee like that. Those are you got to find those places, and usually they're out in the middle of nowhere. But I want to be wading and try to catch a muskie. That sounds fun.
I've got a good spot, and I won't give it to just anyone. So if you want to come up here, I think I've given it to maybe one other person, and it was given to me. So that's the main reason. Because you don't want to destroy a stream that has muskie in it, because it can be destroyed very easily.
Yeah. William Wilson says, want to say good luck to all regional KHSAA high school bass team qualifiers down on Green River Lake, trying to place top 16 to make it to Kentucky State KHSAA. So good luck, guys. Hopefully you get in. Hopefully.
And I love that bass fishing in high school. We just didn't have that when we were in high school. John, did you have that?
I didn't know. I went to a small school, and if I even heard that was an option, I would have been all over that. Like, just to do something outdoors. And I wasn't even a huge fisherman in high school, but I would have loved to even try to do something like that.
Now, did you graduate high school in Kentucky near Bowling Green? Where'd you go?
At Springfield, Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee. Okay.
I went to a school there, which is 10 minutes from Kentucky border.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Over there.
But I mean, I love seeing it though. I love seeing. I've even thought about when I was a teacher. I thought, man, I should be a boat captain or I should try to be the coach. We might come in last, but it'd be fun.
It'd be fun doing it.
Yeah. That there have been some major accidents in these tournaments though, where kids have been killed. So I don't know if I would want that responsibility. Yeah. I'm pretty cautious in my boat, but you just never know, man. Everybody makes mistakes.
Jimmy Carroll finally joined us tonight. Jimmy, thanks for joining us. Hopefully
he's late. He said sorry I'm late, but
hopefully you don't have any news for Mike tonight, because he's not going to be here. He'll be here Tuesday, so save it for then. And Cal, I hope I say this right. Cal Wickesser, I hope I said that right. Said, would a healthy night work in Florida?
Yeah, 100%. So I got one of my videos that probably got me a lot of subscribers, and was the first time I went to. This is South Florida, like in the Everglades. Have you ever been down South Florida, like where the Everglades are, Miami?
No,
all right, so the Everglades is massive. The area of it that it covers down there, and there's a road, Tamiami Road, that runs from Miami to Tampa, and it's 40 miles. You can stop. It just goes through swamp, the whole thing, And
hey, I just put that link. It said you're fishing the Everglades of the Helgermite on your channel. There you go, Cal. The link is in the comments, so go watch it and follow John here. Go ahead, John. Sorry,
but I mean, I didn't know what to throw, so I was like, I'm just gonna throw the Helgermite like I normally do, and I would like twitch it. I was catching like Oscar, peacock bass, largemouth bass, cichlid, lots of different cichlids that are down there. Oscar's a cichlid, and everything down there. That is some of the most like life-changing type of fishing. If you like bank fishing and fishing for whatever, you can just stand in one spot if you find a decent spot and just catch fish after fish after fish, and it just reloads. And then like if you were to look out, all you see is grass and like water, but you're fishing in one little spot, just catching 30, 40 fish.
Yeah,
and
wow.
It's
only one.
So weird. It's so
there's
different.
Just a major hesitation I have, and that's the alligators.
I was about to say I have two.
Man, I don't know.
Questions. Dude. So the first or two things. The first one for Cal, he said one of the few people to ever say my name right. That's saying a lot, Cal, coming from me.
I can assure you it was an accident. Cal.
I have a Kentucky education, my friend, and it is so. Thank you for the compliment. And then number two, John, was you not scared of those alligators?
I was standing on the road, but you can stand on the road like behind a guardrail, and I don't know. If you go down the winter,
they can fit under a guardrail, John.
Do what?
They can fit under a guardrail.
Well, I did do a couple things. I'm like, I'm gonna be on the news. Some Tennessee man came down here and got ate by an alligator. But if you go down winter, they're like you barely see them because they're just if it's a little bit cold, they shut down. But like if you go down there when it's hot, it's like everywhere you turn. There's gator everywhere. But like I mean, people do it. People fish off those banks all the time, and like all the Florida people, I don't even think they care at all. Like,
don't even bother.
Fun fact: Josh and I, our great uncle, our grandpa's brother, he used to run an alligator farm down there. We obviously never visited.
I never went. I don't even think I've ever spoke to that man.
I did when I was very, very young, but he did. His name was Ernest, and they ran an alligator farm.
Oh, yeah, I have met him.
And he always wore alligator boots.
Yep.
True story.
Maybe from his own when I was stationed at Bragg, me and John was trying, and I think it was when we went to the New River, he was coming down and he found a lake for us to fish at. And I mean, the first thing I looked at was like doing my research on it. And the first thing that popped up was our alligators in so-and-so lake. And then everybody's put, this is in South Carolina. And everybody's like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, I immediately texted him. I was like, bro, I'm not going to this lake. Like, hell no, I'm not going near that lake.
Now we're taking a family vacation. Our mom and sister and our kids, we're all going down to Florida the last week of July. We're going to Georgia, Tybee Island. Yeah, is that right? Is that Georgia? That's like outside Savannah. Yeah. And there's all kinds of like canals, like swampy looking canals and rivers behind where we're staying. And I told Josh, we got to fish. And his first reply was, what about the gators? That's the first reply. So,
hey, everybody's been giving you crap tonight over your hair, but I just want to point out Jimmy Carroll's compliment. Because he said if John had aviator sunglasses on, he would almost pass for Rip for Halloween. Like that's a pretty good compliment, I have to say.
And I'll take Scott Butler to the train station.
Because Rip's kind of a bad A, you know?
Rip is. I'll take it.
He really is.
Like me.
So what have you got coming up, John? I know you said you was heading to the New River in like a week. So what else is, kind of on your schedule this year?
Yeah, so like as I do what I do, I just try to do as many like trips as I can and whatever I can schedule and do out there. But last 2 days I was in Alabama and I got to fish the Cahaba River. It's just like it's a pretty cool river. It was beautiful. It was like the water was perfect. It was clear. It was some awesome shoals. I caught a 19 1/4 inch spot on a Helgermite. Caught like a 18-inch one, and then we caught like 25 fish. It was like there's a bunch of Alabama bass in there. Yeah. And then this weekend I'm heading up to Virginia to fish maybe the New River, maybe the James, maybe a creek. I don't know. There's like we get like 2 or 3 days that Crescent's like providing us a place to stay. It's like me and like 2 or 3 other guys.
Nice.
They just kind of want us to, film some content on their kayaks but also, use it for our channel and everything like that. So this is like a pretty cool. It's gonna be a really cool trip. I think. I just hope if the weather's right, could be like really awesome. So going there. Then after that, like I got a lot of places I plan to go throughout the rest of the summer. Just like little trips mainly.
Is there anywhere that is kind of like on your bucket list for creeks or rivers or anything like that? Like you don't even have to be the United States. Maybe you want to go fish the Amazon. Maybe you want to go catch some pacu and some prawns. I don't know. What is your bucket list place?
See, I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, and I've been doing this for 3 years now, and I feel like I've gotten to do more fishing trips than like majority of people will ever get to do in their whole life. It's been a cool blessing and just like it's opportunity. But the things I like really want to do, there's like a couple rivers in Tennessee. Like I've only fished a duck once, like the Buffalo River over there.
We almost
it's like it's gorgeous. I still never done that. Like that's on my list. I have to do that this year. Like I keep it's probably 4 hours from me. But I'm like I got to do that. Like there's several Tennessee places I want to go.
Yeah. The Duck, I think, is the longest natural river in Tennessee.
Yep.
And they also say it's the most biodiverse body of water in the United States.
In the United States, wow.
Yeah. Maybe it may have been the world, but I think it was the United States, the most biodiverse.
That's crazy.
Because all the species of fish, all the species of like the different species of mussels and all the vegetation is the most biodiverse. And it was great. We even saw cows. We were just passing cows as we were going down through there.
It was incredible. Yeah. It was incredible.
It also starts and ends in Tennessee, so it's really cool. It just like runs the whole length. Yeah. But
they have a great Facebook page. It's like the Friends of the Duck River, and if it's not a fishing page, but if you need any information, it's on there. Like they tell you water levels. They tell you when they're doing trash cleanup. They tell you if someone's trespassing. Like it's that's the place to go. But yeah, we're gonna head back down there eventually.
Heck yeah. We got a comment here from Lee Downey. He is a new YouTuber.
A fishing trip.
Yeah, he said, John D, we need to get together and trout fish. Every time I've tried trout, they have cleaned my clock. Do you fish for trout quite a bit too?
No. I live in like trout fishing heaven, like all around me. And I could care less really. Like they don't grab my interest. Like I'll go every once in a while. And I got some buddies that will like to go fly fish, and I'll grab a fly rod. We'll go catch some either wild rainbows. I still haven't caught. I'd like to go catch some wild brook trout. I haven't caught any wild ones. I've caught stocked ones. But I don't know. Something about trout. Especially once as soon as it gets warm, like I'd rather go catch, bluegill or green sunfish in a creek. Yeah, and I have more fun doing that, And I don't know. And the streams where trout are in, they're like they're higher. There's not as many different species in them, so they're beautiful and awesome places to go to. But most of those places are like trout and trout only, and then a lot of places are stocked, which I'm like, it just feels weird. Like I like catching stock, but something about it to me just doesn't seem as fun. Yeah. Even though they're bigger, I'd rather go catch the wild ones that are smaller. And that's what I say about like all the creeks. Like I'm fishing for wild fish every time I go out. This bluegill or this 12-inch bass was born and raised in this stream. He's totally wild. Probably never been caught before, and that's what I like doing.
Yeah, I would like to. That's kind of on my list is to learn how to fly fish. I actually have a fly rod. My buddy Eric gave me one. I went out one time and tried it, and it was a catastrophe. It was awful. And I literally put it back in my truck and grabbed my spinning rod out and caught a limit of trout and then went home. So that's during the winter quite a bit because I like bass kind of. I know some people say that bass eat great during the winter. They don't eat great for me during the winter, so I go catch trout is what I do.
That's actually what I was going to ask. Like right now is prime time to be out there creeks, rivers, streams. When it gets cold, are you just going south? I mean, you're doing this full time, so you got to keep the content rolling. You don't get to just take 3 months off. So
no, I have to. Yeah, the creeks, like, and that, I mean, I have learned that you can still catch, especially smallmouth. Like, you can catch them in creeks in the winter. Obviously, it's harder, and they're not. But if you find them, they're more bunched up. So I like this year especially, I've done like a lot more research and a lot more podcast listening and talking to kind of really learn creeks in the wintertime. But for the most part, like, I can't just go down there and catch a bluegill. Like, there's nothing in some of these small creeks. You know, it's so funny that you can go to them and you won't even see a fish swimming around. Come back in the summer and there's like 1,000 fish swimming around. Like, where are these things at?
You're probably maybe a 3 or 4 hour drive to where it gets a little warmer, aren't you?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's not too far to where it starts getting warmer. Yeah, I'm only 6 hours from Pensacola.
Right.
But even there, like, some of the streams are different. If I want to go, like, I'll just go ahead. If I want to go catch fish, I'll go 10, 11 hours to South Florida, where it's summer all year, and
there you go.
Their canals are loaded with everything. But I've started bass fishing like in the winter, and I've had some of my best bass fishing days like in the winter, where I used to would think, you're not going to catch anything. But like the bigger bodies of water are so much different than the smaller bodies of water. The way they get affected, the way the fish act and do things. But I had a day this winter where we had a tournament where you could kind of pick any river you go to. It was January. It was like 35 degrees. It was windy. And the water was actually up a little bit in this river. And I went out in my pedal drive kayak so I could kind of sustain. It was like I caught so many good fish. It was crazy. It was an insane day. I caught a 19-inch spotted bass, a 18-inch spotted bass, and like a bunch more. Like, it was.
These
I was
are
just
fat
fishing.
Fish too, right?
They were fat. Yeah.
That's a big spot.
That's a real big spot. Yeah.
Where I live, there's Alabama spots like real close to me, and they get big. So they get bigger than the Kentucky spots that y'all would catch.
Right.
People
I don't know.
not
I don't
want...
think y'all catch them here or not, but
it depends on the body of water.
Yeah,
and it seems like the population's growing. We don't want it to really grow because it kind of stunts the largemouth. But I've seen a lot of folks talking about, if you're going to if you fish Alabama, I don't really know how they word it now that I'm thinking about it, but we do not want Alabama bass in Kentucky waters. That's like the big message right now. We do not want Alabama bass in Kentucky waters.
The biggest message is don't ever, like, I used to do this when I was a kid, and everybody does it or did it probably, like, just thought it was cool. Don't move any fish from one body of water to another at all. It's like,
it happens.
You think it's nothing going on, but they've even got like crawdads that only live in a certain creek and don't live in another creek.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's the big thing going on. So I'm down here. This is like whatever you call it. I forget what the phrase is, but like ground zero for like the Alabama bass invasion. So the lake. So the Tennessee River system is like really close to the like Coosa River system, but they're separate. Those rivers out those Alabama bass are in the Coosa River system. Once they get into the Tennessee River system, which they are down by me, they've completely taken over the lake, and where it used to be smallmouth in that lake, you will not find a smallmouth at all.
Oh wow!
You'll still see some largemouth, not very many, but it's like, for every one largemouth, you're catching 5 spots.
Wow.
The good thing is though, they're getting big, and our state record is 7 pounds caught out of the lake, like 15 minutes from me. 7 pound spotted bass, and people are catching like 5 and 6 pounders. I caught 2 5-pounders last year, and those are pretty fun. So it's hard to like hate it, but they get pretty big. So
are they more aggressive than the largemouth down there? Like a lot more aggressive. Yeah, the spotted bass. Here's what I found is like if I'm like we talked about, if I'm fishing slow, if I'm fishing in a lake that has a good amount of spots in it, and I'm fishing slow like that, if it gets hit on the fall, it's always a spot. And if it hits the bottom and I work it, it's usually a largemouth. So that's, they're just more aggressive. It's fun.
We got a really good question here. Somebody watching on YouTube, Kevin. He said, "Hey, I started creek fishing after seeing how fun it looks on YouTube. I don't know if it was too early in the season or if it just sucks where I live. I'm in Michigan, but like 40 minutes west from Detroit. I wish fishing on this side was as good as fishing on the west side of Michigan. Any tips? So maybe it sounds like just getting into creek fishing up in Michigan. What kind of advice or tips would you give him maybe just starting out?
Yeah, he probably got to wait another month. But
Right.
there's a guy, Fish Anything YouTuber. He lives in Michigan, and he does a lot of multi-species fishing. Catches a lot of smallmouth, but a lot of the panfish. They got what's the one? I forgot the name of this. There's a sunfish up there that they have that is really cool to catch. But yeah, like our streams. Well, this year's been a weird spring. It's been it got warm, then it got cold again. So like our streams are right now like popping. Like things are active. You can go down there and you can guarantee you're catching fish. Sunfish are alive. But it's just happened probably in the last 2 or 3 weeks where they got really active, and they probably got another couple weeks. It needs to be warm. The smaller the body of the water, just think if it's cold, the faster, or if it's cold, the faster, or what I can't know what I'm saying here, but it gets warmer and colder faster than a lake. So if it gets hot, so even if it's in the winter, like if we have like a week in December where it's like 60, then 70, boom, I'll go to the creek and I'll catch fish like crazy. Yeah. Because it just, boom, they got woken up. But if it's like 40 at night, every night, it's hard for them to kind of really get active because that water's only, a little bit deep.
Kevin, I'll tell you too, once everything thaws out, if you want to just fish from the bank, you can drive east to Lake St. Clair off the Detroit River. There's all kinds of little canals you can fish on. Or fish in, just standing on the bank, and you can catch some really good smallmouth out there.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Yeah, if you have a kayak, you can take it. If you have a boat, heck, be careful, but you can go out there. St. Clair.
Eddie Endicott says the Zara Puppy, Rebel Crawl, and just a Rapala minnow are awesome in creeks.
Rebel Crawl.
I agree, Eddie.
That's how I got to start in creeks.
John started with the Rebel Crawl up in the New River, actually. And then
I always have one of those with me.
Yeah.
And then I used to use a Rebel. I don't even know if they make them anymore. It's called a jumping minnow. And it was like a top water, just walking that thing. And dude, they would eat, smallmouth would crush that thing. And I used to love it. Derek Andrews said best baits for bed fishing on pressured lakes.
What are the pros use a methalamite? Is that what it say? Like a pink Cinco, Derek. That's what the pros use.
Yeah,
a pink Cinco.
Yeah, actually, that's a John, and even in creeks if you're bass fishing and they go, those smallmouth go on bed. What do you like to throw? Is it the Helgramite?
What's funny is like I hardly fish. So my area is unique. We have smallmouth, but most like the streams by me are not predominantly smallmouth. So I have to go an hour and a half to get to north, maybe 2 hours to get to predominantly smallmouth streams.
Huh.
Okay.
So, or I go west to get to the plateau in Tennessee, and then they're there. So it's weird. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't fish for bed and creeks with beds a lot because by the time I get out, they've already spawned. But I'll do. But if you're in a creek and that's different. Where if you see them on a bed, you can usually catch them pretty even. And I know like in Virginia, I got friends they like Shenandoah River and the Holston River up there. They can just walk the bank and see smallmouth on beds like easy. Yeah. So it's just where you live, and like some people live right by streams that can do that. I don't know. It's very different. It depends on the clarity of the water. So I always want to catch like bedding fish, but it seems like I don't come across them that often.
Yeah, I don't see them a lot when I'm in the creeks in the spring either.
Derek, I'll say probably I think it was last year, the year before. Any type of like wacky rig or Texas rig or something like that, weightless is going to work.
Yeah, when you're just really trying to aggravate the fish.
Yeah,
lizard
for
or something.
me,
Yeah.
I like to throw very specific because I've caught so many 5-pounders on this jig. It's unreal. It is a ball headed jig by 6 cents with their, I can't remember what soft plastic it is. It's
Cutter crawl or something like that.
it's one of their creature baits. I threw it like 2 years ago. I was on a lake and they were on bed and it was unreal. Like, because also with that jig you're staying in contact with the bottom the entire time. So once you get it in there in the bed, you just have to shake it. You don't have to like drag it, nothing like that. You just give it a couple of shakes and you wait long enough, they're going to pick it up. So I like something a little heavier. John prefers probably something like a wacky rig more than likely, or a Ned rig or something like that. But as long as you're making contact and you land in that bed, more than likely, eventually you're going to get bit.
You at least catch the male. The female may, sometimes they're tough. John mentioned the lizard. The state record largemouth in Kentucky was caught off bed with a lizard. It's
in her hometown.
Something in her hometown, 4-acre lake that was a 14-pound fish. I promise there's fish in there bigger than that. Yeah. You can't catch them. I mean, I don't know how he caught them. I've been up there. When I've hit them in the nose. I've had 6 fish as long as my arm, it seemed, up there, and threw everything at them. And that's why a lot of people think they're Florida bass up there, because they're hard to catch that time of year. You know, if you go bass fish to Florida, they use shiners a lot because with those Florida bass. So,
Scott Butler said, "Always that one sweet spot in a bed." You are right, 100%. You are right.
So we're kind of overtime here, John. But have you done any fishing up north, like in the northeast part?
So I went to Michigan last year and fished the Grand River. And then Sean corrected me there. He says pumpkin seed sunfish. We fished. So in Michigan, like it was so. I just wanted to go. Like a lot of the trips I go, people are like, "Oh, go here to catch the biggest smallmouth." I'm like, well, my goal is not to go catch the biggest fish. It's to go up there and have fun and like experience the area. So when I went to Michigan, we kayaked the Grand River, caught some smallmouth, caught some pike, which I love catching those. Or and once again, I'm throwing I caught one on top water, but most of them came on stick bait. I'm like, like how do you catch more on that? It's anyways. I just so but like I got to go experience like some of the, there's like I didn't realize the lakes. They're like all these little lakes. They're like 5 to 10 acre lakes, and they all connect. And like there's like the water just connects from one to another. So I found this one place I went to. I just looked on the map. I was like, oh, it looks like a place you can go. Stopped there, got in with my little pedal drive kayak. I kayaked up this little creek to one lake, and then there's like another little connector. Went up to another lake, and I mean there were largemouth lakes and sunfish, but I was catching them on a frog and lily pads. I was caught like 20 fish. They're all like 1 pound, but it was awesome. They were just like hammering it. Yeah. So I got to do that.
Go ahead.
I'm going to Wisconsin for a couple days this year. Just kind of a quick trip. My cousin's getting married, and I'm going to go to Vermont for just a couple days. Cool. Buddy up there. So a lot of those won't be like long, big fishing trips. They're kind of just like get up there, just try to. And half the time, most fun I like to do is just stop somewhere random. I love stopping at random spots. Just hey, what's right here? I'm gonna just fish here.
Yeah, one of the most fun days of fishing I've had was I was in Buffalo, New York, and I had to fish when I was up there, and it was in June, probably 4 years ago. Excuse me. And if you look at the map, there's just all kinds of little tributaries that run into Lake Erie, and they all have smallmouth. Yeah. And man, we went there and caught some really big smallmouth. I'm convinced that I had a smallmouth hooked that was bigger than the 5-pounder I caught it at St. Clair. It literally, I had my drag too tight. Literally, completely straightened out my Ned rig. And he swam back. Maybe he was on bed. I don't know, but I saw him swim away, and he wouldn't bite again. But I'm sure people give you suggestions. You need to go here, go there. But like you said, if you just look at that map, man, like you can just hop stream to stream. I'm pretty sure where we were, was like state forest or national forest, so you could just hike down a little trail and get there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. But that's what if I'm fishing, if I'm on a trip and I want to fish, I try to find streams that flow into good bodies of water, which I think you mentioned that at the first of the show. So, how much do you spend in fishing license a year?
What? I just bought my Virginia one. It's not terrible. It's less than a gas a tank for each state. So if I'm driving somewhere, 50, like Tennessee's are one of the highest ones. Luckily I live here, but
it's true. Yeah.
$40-$50 usually for a year, and then sometimes I'll just buy a 5-day for, $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've been collecting, all the, licenses. So I go ahead and get a printout and pay the extra $5. And I'm going to put all these together and like make what do you call it? Like a picture or something like that. I'm going to put all that's my goal. Cool. So I'm just like collecting them, all the ones I get every year. And I'm going to put them together for a display one day.
I think what I like, man, is that most guys that we have on the show and stuff, they're like adamant about bass fishing, or they're specifically catfishing. And dude, you just like, when you go on a trip, you're just looking to enjoy it, and you're looking to, I guess, discover and just the experience of it, man. And that's what fishing's all about. That's like my go-to. If I'm in a bad mood, or if I've had a bad day at work or something, I know, like, 30 minutes in my kayak on the water, if I don't even catch anything, it's like it just resets everything, and I'm good to go. But I really like that, man. You're just looking to get out, have fun, experience it, and discover things. So heck yeah,
it makes it more enjoyable.
There's so much to, especially kayaking. I tell people all the time, get a kayak if you can, because it just opens up everything.
Yeah.
And it is fun. Like, once you just like push out on that kayak and you're just floating on that water, like every time that first time I just start floating on the water, you just feel different. You're like, you're
great.
just away from the land. You're just, I don't know what it is. It's just like, hey, this is nice. Now let's go have fun. But like, there's so much more to fishing than just only targeting one species. Like, just, I don't know. I do. You can. It can aggravate you.
Yeah, if Josh and I are on the boat and it's a primarily largemouth lake, which is a lot of lakes we fish don't have smallmouth.
Yeah.
And we're to noon and we've not caught anything. Sometimes not caught anything at all. It's like, man.
Usually, rather than fishing, by that point, we're usually fighting. By that point,
we're usually eating. We're usually eating.
Or eating. Yeah.
But here's what I say all the time. Man, if we were in this such and such creek, we'd be catching all kinds of fish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just true. We know we're going to catch them there. So,
I got into kayak tournament, but I like in the summertime. I don't even want to go out on the lake, especially when it's hot. I have no desire to be out there in the heat when I could be in the shade in a creek catching. I don't even care if the fish are smaller. It's so much more fun.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what we like to do is we'll fish until 11 and go to the marina and eat. And hang out, and then maybe hang out and go back out at 3 or 4 and fish the evening. But
heck yeah,
food makes a lot of things feel better.
Yeah.
Always.
It is 12 after 10, and so I think my daughters are still awake. And they listen. Even worse, Detroit is up for the 18th pick. Will Levis is still on the couch.
Still not picked.
Man.
Somebody's gonna get a steal in the back half of the. Well, maybe he's a bust. I don't know, but
I was a little worried that he'd go a little later. But
man, I thought
Richardson's a bust.
I even read that the Mannings had went to the Colts and vouched for him because Peyton Manning's. His quote was, "This guy was genetically built to play quarterback in the NFL." So I thought so, but Will Levis still there at 18, and can you imagine?
He got to walk out early. Did you see the pre? I saw the pre-jow. He was like walking out early with everybody.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, man, if he's still like waiting around. Man.
Hey, I remember though when Aaron Rodgers dropped to like 24th or something, and look at him.
Yeah.
Underachieved. He's also an underachiever. Won Super Bowl. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But he's no Tom Brady, of course. So, well, John, we appreciate you, brother. It's been fun. We could talk creek fishing. I mean, I think at the core of everything we do outdoors, being in the creek, knee deep, catching smallmouth is our favorite thing to do.
By far.
Yeah.
I think so. And so that's what we always go back to. I'm a realtor and I have 2 closings tomorrow. Thank God. But my plan was to go fishing tomorrow morning. I can't now, which I'm okay with because I get paid. But that's what I was looking forward to, was going fishing tomorrow morning. But, Scott, watch your mouth.
Not biggin.
Yeah.
John, before we jump off here, let everybody know that's watching and will later probably watch our show. A lot of people will watch after we've already done it, where they can find all of your social media at.
Yeah, you can find me Creek Fishing Adventures, Instagram, Facebook, and I post all my videos on YouTube. And I've been doing it for 7 years. I just like to explore, have fun, catch fish, and enjoy it. I want to go out there and enjoy my time. So,
all right, and I put that link in the his YouTube link in the comments too. So make sure you follow him. But hey, man, we really appreciate you, and I'm not. I know everyone wants to go fishing with you, so I'm not gonna say, hey, come up, we'll go fishing sometime. But if you're ever up here, holler at us. Maybe we won't go, but we can.
I really want to do the elkhorn. Like that's been on. I mean, I remember watching shows about that when I was young, and I still never fished it. So, I need to check that off at least once.
Yeah, I mean, there's days you catch a whole lot of fish there, and then there's days where it's like, I had higher expectations, but it's a lot of fun. We have some good spots there. If I want to wade, I have some spots I go to wade, and if I'm just going to float and fish, I just put in and float all day or half the day, and a lot of fun. Yeah. So, yeah, man, I'm 1 mile from there, so you just holler at me, and we'll make it happen. So, all right, fellas, we appreciate you. Hey, appreciate everybody watching. This is probably our 10th or 11th episode of this new live show. Like that. So we need to start numbering those. So we really appreciate it. We'll be on live Tuesday for our other show on Eastern Outdoors. And then do we have a guest for next Thursday on here?
We do. Our guest next week. Let me pull it up here.
Look at Josh being organized.
Hold on. Doesn't happen often, my friend. Hold on.
Oh, gosh, the silence.
Hold on, guys.
Man, Will Levis, can you imagine?
Here we go.
That's just money just being deducted from his.
He should have wore a more flamboyant suit. He was it looked like he was a preacher up there. I'm like,
oh, they're just showing him right now. He's just.
I bet he's not very happy. I can't find it, but we do have a guest for next week. I've got it written in my notes somewhere. I've got some.
You kind of look like an unathletic Will Levis.
Who?
You, the blonde hair and stuff. You just look like the average Will Levis. You know what I mean?
Average. You're an average fisherman.
I'll take that.
Average.
Fine. All right, we'll go before this becomes something.
We'll let you guys know who we're having on next week, guys.
Yeah, who we're having on. That's what we're doing. So anyway, we appreciate you guys, John. We really do appreciate you, and you guys will give him a follow, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night.
See you guys.